Hey, what's up guys, Sir Emanon here, and welcome to another video. So we have the ban list apparently, which, we were anticipating for quite some time, but I think some of our hopes were diminishing after last week and just not receiving any word whatsoever, but here it is. So surprise, surprise, we got the ban list today. As far as expectations are concerned, I don't have a ton of them. I would like to see some hits to tier and sprite without maybe directly impacting the archetype. I'm curious as to how they're going to do that, if at all. No pun intended, but like curious might be a good way to do so for like tier. Maybe they ban snow again. For sprite, maybe they hit like totally awesome, or like they ban Hulk or something. And then everyone's complaining about mine, so maybe we'll see that on the list this time. But yeah, let's go ahead and just get started here without further ado. So effective October 3rd, so that is I think next week. So yeah, we have some time to prepare, but this is pretty solid. And unfortunately, we still have the in a few months thing instead of an actual, kind of like expected date for the next ban list. So the next one could be like December or it could be like March, who knows. But let's get started. And already we have a ban, and it is Fairy Tale Snow. All right, so yeah, this one I think is not very surprising to many people. A lot of people wanted this card to be rebanned just because it's so ridiculous in tier. And it's extremely accessible. It's very, very easily abused, and it's one of the cards that is extremely hard to deal with, even if you like, Dark Ruler, the end board or something. So yeah, super happy about this one. No complaints there. This one probably shouldn't have come off the list to begin with, so that is totally fine. Next up, we have Ronin Totem banned. I was maybe expecting like a totally awesome hit, but this is another way to do it, not one I would have immediately thought of. But let's think about this. So now the sprite decks and the sprite engines don't really have a free means of getting double negates off. It's fewer recurring bodies. They have to tailor their end boards differently. I'm kind of liking this, not gonna lie. I mean, it's functionally what banning Toad would do, but you still have Toad in, maybe you can still make Toad in some weird ways with like Merly plus Swap Frog somehow. I don't know if you would do that, but like you could if you wanted to. But what this does is it also diminishes the board building capability of that engine. So like if you ban Toad, you might still play the frogs just as a way to get a lot of level 2s on board. So I'm curious as to how sprite players, if you guys in the comments below have any ideas on how you would kind of readapt and retail your end board, because this is definitely a big hit, an indirect one nonetheless. And you'll notice that, like I mentioned, these are kind of ways to hit sprite and tier without actually hitting and hindering the engines. So pretty big fan of that, since the engines themselves are still pretty new, relatively speaking. Next up, we have Christian Hakafirax. Okay, so I don't think too many people are surprised about this one. Hulk has been a problem card for a while. I'm a little sad to see it go just because I like the card. I think it's kind of cool personally, but I won't deny that it is very, very powerful and contributed to a lot of cards needlessly being on the list as well. So maybe we'll see some things come off. But yeah, this card definitely is good to see gone. We also see that there's no Curious or Griffin, it looks like. So none of that from the tier deck. So we'll see maybe if there are direct tier hits here. Because this is kind of a double hit to like the pure sprite build, if you will. But yeah, next up we have Chaos Ruler. Oh, interesting. I was just talking about Curious, and I'm kind of surprised that we go after this card, but not Curious, because they have kind of similar functions. So this is obviously like a random excavate of Milfi, but you get to add one, and it's a recurring body, whereas, Curious is a targeted send. So like they both have like very, I guess, distinct advantages, but they fulfill the same purpose of getting a lot of cards into the graveyard and getting more resources in rotation. So this hinders the Punk package most notably, as well as Dragon Link. So rest in peace to those decks, which were not admittedly at the forefront of the meta. Maybe Punk a little bit in the sprite deck, of course, but and like tier variants. But yeah, with this, I don't expect the Punk engine to be touched now. Like no E-Telly to 1 or anything, which I thought maybe would happen, like E-Telly to 1. But with this and Halcyon being the two kind of major payoffs of the Punk engine, yeah, that is going to be a very, very big detriment and a big deterrent of actually using those cards in your decks. So, yeah, I am a little sad because I do like this card very much, but it probably would have been banned sooner or later, as the card pool increases in terms of, how expansive it is. This card is only going to get more ridiculous over time, so it was bound to happen sooner or later, kind of similar to like Hulk. Okay, interesting ban list so far. Okay, so of course they're gonna leave Toad, if they're gonna ban Rodent Toad of all things. Anything? Oh, they did not ban Mystic Mine. They did not ban Mystic Mine. Uh-oh, that's not good. At least for community reception. Maybe they limit this card, but yikes. Like I think they limited it in the OCG first, so they probably just limited it. And yeah, we'll just have to deal with that. But next up we have Red Reboot. Okay. I kind of like this actually, just because like for trap decks, it's extremely unfair to play against this card specifically. I think there's more counterplay to like Harpy's Feather Duster and Lightning Storm and all those types of cards compared to this one. This one you pretty much have to draw a judgment or you lose, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, I kind of equate it to like the Azathoth against combo. Like this is like the Azathoth for trap decks, right? But the bad thing about this though is that the floodgates that are utilized in combo decks, things like anti-spell and D-barrier, neither of which got hit or banned here at least. Not that I expected it to, but you know, those types of cards in combo, you'll have one less out to them now, which is pretty unfortunate because like it's one thing to deal with a combo end board, but when they have floodgates on top of it, it's like extremely oppressive. But apart from that, yeah, I think this card probably deserves to be banned, so I think that's fair. And that's it for the ban cards. Very interesting. So Ronin I think is like the one that people wouldn't have expected, myself included, but it is definitely a pretty good way to hinder Sprite. So let's go ahead and move on into the limited section. We have, oh, two off the bat. Okay, so we have Blackwing Steam the Cloak and Cyberjar. So Steam the Cloak is back because Hulk is banned, so they actually did peel off stuff because of Hulk's ban. This one is interesting because the token generation is still strong outside of just purely being Hulk fodder. And I believe it is level 3 if I'm not mistaken, so maybe like a Carabiner deck could pop up with this thing. But yeah, I mean, it probably can come back. I'm curious to see if it's going to see any experimentation. You know, it seems to be like a pretty good mill off of like tier cards too. So maybe we'll see this as like another way to make it curious. It is a winged beast, same with Guerrera. So yeah, maybe we'll see this in tier. Cyberjar is also interesting. Well, actually, no, not really. This thing can come off and there would really be no long-lasting impact. So sure. Next up, we have Mecha Fan Beast Olion. So more stuff getting peeled off the list thanks to Hucklefibrax. This card with Auroradon also banned is probably fine. Again, kind of like, you know, just more token generating cards. I think if you were to pick one of these to play in tier, you'd probably pick Steam. Just because it is a dark and you contribute stuff to bring itself back. But yeah, so I wonder, is that all of the victims for Hulk's sins gone? Oh no, we still have Bulb on here, which to be fair, Bulb was I think on a bit of a different level than the other cards. But yeah, like Destrudo came off earlier, so I think that's like pretty much besides Bulb, all the tuners that went to jail thanks to Hucklefibrax. So cool to see that. Oh, next up, we got Substitone off the list because they banned Rodent. Is this the reason why? Is this why Konami wanted to ban Rodent? I guess fair enough if that's the case. I'm not the most well educated on like the historic formats, but to my knowledge, Substitute really started to take off in popularity once Rodent was there to kind of abuse it alongside of it. So I guess you can have one without the other, as long as you don't have both. This is kind of weird, but sure. Yeah. I don't think anyone expected Substitute to be unbanned today, but hey, that's what we got. Next up, for more limits, no extra deck stuff or rituals or anything. And then for spells, we got Spellbook of Judgment. This, I believe, happened in Master Duel, coming back to 1, so I guess it's not too surprising. Also, it probably could come back off without any, any lasting repercussions. I was talking to a friend of mine who is very much a avid spellbook player. Shout out to you, Half Mist, if you're watching this. Who said that they probably wouldn't even play Judgment just because, like, right now, the way that the game is, it's not really as good as it was back then. So yeah, this is definitely fine. Also, we see no Mystic Mine again. So yikes! They actually decided to leave Mystic Mine completely alone, or they put it to 2, which who cares at that point. Okay, so yeah, of all the things that they didn't hit Mime. A pointer of the Red Lotus. Why did they limit a pointer? Out of all the going first traps that combo is playing, they picked a pointer. This one's a head scratcher. I genuinely don't know why. I mean, it is a good card in certain instances, but I don't even think it's like the most oppressive one. And it's definitely not the most universal one or the one that people would complain about the most. I've seen more complaints against like triple tactics talent looking at your hand compared to this card. So I don't know. This is a strange one for sure. Like, yeah, I get it. Like going first and being able to combo off and setting a trap is strong. I mentioned that earlier, but there's a lot more powerful cards that do that, or like there's suitable enough replacements to where I don't know if this is actually going to matter that much. I mean, I guess this one's like Trap Trick Bolt, so like you have even fewer ways to access it, but they didn't hit Scythe as well. I just kind of realized that, so like they didn't hit like Sanctum Scythe. I don't know. It's a weird one to go for. Okay, semis and unlimited. There's not a lot of the scroll bar left here I'm seeing, so I don't expect too much. Okay, these actually remain the same. Malicious, Tenki, and Desires, and the unlimits. Dynamite Knight, Ben 10. Oh, shout out to Drytron players. That's actually a pretty big one. Shooting Riser Dragon. Yeah, why was this ever limited in the first place? No idea. Fusion Destiny, Nadir Servant, Light Stage, and Wall of Revealing Light. Okay, yeah, I think these are fine. But yeah, okay, so this ban list is a hit or miss, I think, for a lot of people. I would think at least. Just because it hit the engines pretty sufficiently, but as far as non-engine is concerned, I think they missed the mark. They definitely could have banned more of the oppressive like floodgates or game-winning cards that, I think that's kind of the problem, honestly, with a lot of the interactivity, so to speak. I think the engines themselves are pretty, interactive. But when you add in like the non-engine cards, like the cards that like win you the game instantly going second, like Dark Ruler paired with mine, like things that like Floodgates going first, like things that like you have to really account for that are not a part of your regular game plan. It's really it's really tough, and I think that they did a good job in kind of like curbing the power of like the end boards. So maybe like those cards don't become as necessary, but yeah, it still is a bit unfortunate. I think they could have done a bit more, but overall, I'm not too upset about this ban list either. I think that it is going to be interesting to see how Sprite is going to adapt. I think 2 came out of this actually pretty well, all things considered. Like, yes, Snow is a big hit, but the engine itself still runs pretty fine, and you have like some new potential tools to play with in that deck. And of course, we have the Ishizu stuff coming out, which is going to warp that deck even further. Sprite, on the other hand, is going to struggle quite a bit. So I'm curious to see how that deck is going to recover. I feel like it definitely can, but maybe this paves the way for more decks to actually re-enter and re-establish themselves towards the forefront of the metagame, which I'm pretty excited to see. But yeah, that's going to be it. And I will be, now that the ban list is out, I do want to post more content. I was afraid that like the content I would post would kind of just be like phased out over the matter of like the next couple of days, but then we just didn't get a ban list at all last week, so I felt kind of dumb for that. But all right, now we can resume kind of like working on the format and such. Also, I will be hosting a tournament on my Discord server this upcoming Friday. It'll be ongoing. It'll be kind of asynchronous, so rounds will be a couple of days each. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to join my Discord server. The link's in the description below. If you do want to join that, I did state that I posted signups on Saturday, and I said that if the ban list would come out before this Thursday, then we'll be using that one. And lo and behold, here it is. So we will be using this current ban list. So if you want to play in that tournament, definitely go and check out my Discord server. But that's going to do it for us here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See you guys.